get it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Microsoft Global Community Initiative General Session. This is our November iteration. So let's go forward. So first, for our digital event code of conduct, with any sort of call, online, in person, hybrid, we have an event code of conduct. Not going to dole over this slide, but essentially be nice, be welcoming, and creating a safe and welcoming environment for everyone here. If you have any sort of questions about it, or you wanted to read more of what that's about, you can also download our PowerPoint here after the call today and read more into it. And then before I forget, I also want to introduce myself. My name is Tiffany Lee. I am a product manager here at Microsoft, working on Microsoft 365 and services such as Copilot. So next, we're going to talk about our agenda today. So I'm going to go over a couple announcements. We have our lovely subcommittee updates from our board officer and regional leads. And then our topic today is Community Days Ottawa with Habib coming on to talk about that. And then we're going to wrap up with community events and updates. We do have quite a bit following for the rest of the year, as well as open discussion. If you choose to, you can come on live, ask us your questions, or you can ask us in the Microsoft Tech Community event page where we can answer your questions live. Alrighty. So next, our updated call format. If you're not familiar already, this is our updated call format where we are bringing to you this general sessions live, and you can join us at those links over here at ak.ms/mgcimtgam, and then the same for PM. And we're going to hold the calls exactly the same times, 8:10 and 5:10 Pacific time. And so really only the real difference here is for open discussion. You'll be able to ask your questions on the Microsoft Tech community. And the reason for the new format is just so that it's more accessible and easier for folks to watch worldwide on demand and all in one place. And if you're not familiar with what MGCI is already, it is the Microsoft Global Community Initiative. If you wanted to read up on more what this is about, what I mean when I talk about board officers, regional leads, and maybe how you can apply to be one in the future, you can look up at that link, ak.ms/mgci. Alrighty, so our subcommittee updates. And before that, we also have quite a bit of announcements. I think just a couple, one or two. We have Mondays at Microsoft with Caroline and Heather. Just want to remind you all that, there's so much going on at Microsoft all the time. We have, Ignite and different sort of events coming up. We have product announcements coming up as well all the time. And in order to help, yourself congregate and sort of absorb all those news at Microsoft, Caroline and Heather has helped you done that homework, and they basically hold a bi-weekly show where they, scour the web for information, scour internally to try to bring you these new product announcements, upcoming events in a more digestible manner, where they hold this bi-weekly call over about a 15-minute cup of coffee time if you're, in that certain time zone for coffee. So if you missed it, then you can watch past Mondays at Microsoft shows at ak.ms/Mondays at Microsoft. And you can also join our Microsoft community on LinkedIn, so you can watch up, previous shows, look at previous show notes, and you can also get ready for our next call by subscribing. And for the communications workstream update, so we had our lovely Isadora join us this morning and to bring us this, and I'm just going to be subbing in for her for this update. But essentially, if you wanted to get hashtags on your community sort of activities, you can also add hashtag community love to get featured in our monthly newsletter. They are currently working on the November newsletters, as well as the conference sessions that's going to be at the AI tour. I believe Heather and Isadora just did the one in the AI tour in Paris, where they were able to hold a session together and talk about really what about MGCI is. They're also going to do the Loco NoCo Power Platform Conference, and as well as we didn't add this on here, but at Ignite in about a week, Ignite, they're also going to have a MGCI session. I believe it's Wednesday, November 3rd at 9 to 10 o'clock. So if you just look at the session scheduler in the Ignite homepage, you're going to be able to find the MGCI session. But there, any sort of regional leads, board officer, as well as our leader, Heather Cook, she will be there to talk about MGCI All Up and how anyone can join and what it's all about. So feel free to visit us there. In addition, if you would like any sort of MGCI sort of board officers or regional leads or the different topics that we hold monthly here, and you want to hear or have them present at your session, your conference, your event, feel free to reach out to myself or Heather Cook. And you would do so by joining MGCI if you haven't already at aka.ms/MGCI. So you can hopefully get one of us to come and speak at your event. And yes, so so let's move forward. So the communitydays.org feature update, I'm going to bring on Tom Daly. He is our, I think we called him the mastermind behind communitydays.org. Oh, you're missing that title from earlier. We should have in. But yes, Tom Daly is the mastermind, the magician behind communitydays.org. And a lot of times I can't believe that. I mean, we do have our engineers helping him from Microsoft, but he's really the leader that says, hey, you do item this, item that. And so there's always so much updates, as you can tell on this slide right here. And a lot of times I don't even know how you work your magic. So Tom, if you can share just who you are for MGCI as well as what the updates are for here.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Tom Daly. I'm Microsoft 365 practice lead at Soho Dragon in New York City. So I do not do Community Days full time, but it seems like it. I am also Microsoft MVP, and like Tiffany introduced me, the mastermind behind Community Days. So that's my role. And I just wanted to mention, you were just talking in the previous slide about the low code, no code conference. So that just happened this past weekend, which I happen to be a moderator and a co-organizer on, and that was a conference by Manpreet Singh. So he was one for that, but we like reached out to everybody at Microsoft, and we got Caruana, we got Ashvini, we got April Dunham, like Naomi Moneypenny, lots of high-profile people to do keynotes at conference, and it was really fantastic. So a lot of the things you're seeing here are, when we do these conferences, and I work with lots of the different Community Days events, we will find bugs and things that we want to change and tweak. And that's what I do to Community Days. So I add new features, and I listen to feedback from the event organizers and the people that are using the site, and we're always making it better. So let's talk about what's coming out in November. So we have a lot of, I would call like maintenance things going on, performance enhancements. So if you're creating an event, the next and previous, going through the wizard to create events, we've done some performance enhancements, caching different information. Actually, we're a little bit behind on the pushing out. So like things are queuing up. We have the September style updates and the October style updates. So those are just things that, I noticed that, move a pixel here, a pixel there. Mobile responsive things. So those are coming out. And again, lots of information from the field. So two people that special shout outs to Jason Rivera and again, Manpreet Singh. They're always feeding me. Manpreet runs a lot of events. He's always feeding me things that are wrong. So missing schedule, the low code, no code, missing schedule. We fixed that. And actually the Ottawa event also fed me a lot of things. So Mike Matarani was there, and Habib, they also fed me a lot of these defects here. Merging profiles. This is we just released the profile synchronization from run events and sessionized events. So we're just cleaning up, stabilizing that. Let's see. Force username. So again, if you're logging in with an Xbox account or like your phone, Skype number or something, we're just like doing these edge case scenarios. We're forcing you to sign in, to fill out your profile information, like your good contact email and a good username, like your name, not anything special. We also noticed that a couple of the events from different time zones were coming in out of order. So that we fixed that. A big request was to see all the events, on our site as a list and also as a calendar. So we are working on the calendar one, but we are releasing right now the events as a list. So you'll be able to just see, instead of all those cards that are on there, you'll see everything just in one giant row as a list. Redirect others, that is for external synced events. We're going to be doing that. We're going to just route them to their respective websites. Speaker board event dates, again, sorting things differently, just making sure that, some things were out of order. We fixed that. Homepage content. So if you are creating an event, sometimes events show up empty with not a lot of information about what the event is. So we're putting in those instructions on, hey, you need to provide us with 150 words describing the event. So it just creates a nicer listing. And adding session days. So we also noticed that multi-day events, if you looked at the large list of sessions, you couldn't tell what day the event, those things were happening on. So we added that. It's a very subtle feature, but it does help, with just knowing when things are happening. Great. So on to working on it. This is currently in development, being tested. And so I want to do another special shout out to one of our rockstar QA testers, Russ Onizuka. He's been helping a lot in this past month, doing a lot of these QA testing tasks. So you could easily get involved. I think somebody was saying earlier, how do we get involved, right? Just go to the Microsoft Global Community Initiative website, and they could throw up the link for that. There you go. Sign up today, and then just participate in our calls. And then you can, every call, we're always asking for volunteers and help, and it's easy to sign up. There's a form to sign up, and then you can get involved. Right. So working on it, some of the things on the events pages, like if you've gone to Community Days, you'll see the tabs. We're working on hiding tabs that have no content. So just creating like a tighter looking event page. We're also adding like in your face event guidelines. So if you're going to submit an event, a lot of people are submitting events that don't quite fit the criteria, and we're looking for certain types of events that fit Community Days. We don't want to be overwhelmed with user group type events, because then you won't be able to find anything properly. So we're gonna, we have an idea for user groups, but that's later on. But right now we're gonna put in those guidelines so that everybody's aware of like, hey, these are the types of events that should be listed here. I already mentioned the events as a calendar. We also, so number 531, this one we've started working on. So if you're an event creator, right, and you're typing in the address of your event, we're just going to kind of look that up for you. And then just you'd click on like the verified address. And then what that does is also add a map pin so people can get directions directly to your venue from, easily through the website. So a lot of stuff here, but these are the few things that are, there's a ton in the backlog, but what's up next, these are the ones that we've identified that we're going to start working on as soon as we clear out some of these other things, and as soon as we're ready just to start. Automating reminders for draft events. We're noticing a lot of people creating events but not quite publishing them for whatever reason, and we think that they think they're not aware that they're not published right off the bat. So we're going to be doing some automation behind the scenes to contact those people and make sure that they didn't inadvertently left it in the pending state. Social event sharing. We want people to go to Community Days and also share, I'm attending this event. And for step one is maybe sharing events that you found on like social media, whatever network those are. We're going to try to handle all of those. We also want to get tighter integration with Sessionize and Run Events Mobiles. Those are our two content management type systems that really power Community Days. So we want to be able to have people just easily go to our website to link to these other mobile calendars, mobile schedules. And lastly, we want to add the ability to enhance the event status. So currently right now, you cannot really postpone without contacting us, or cancel, or, you could delete your event. You can't really cancel it or postpone it. So we want to be able to add the ability to do this, and also resubmit. So if you were denied for whatever reason and you want to resubmit, you should be able to like resubmit with more information. So those are the things that are coming up in the next, probably within the next month. And that's it. That's all I got. So back to you, Tiffany.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. And wow, that's a lot to do for a whole month and before the holidays too. But yes, I love the automated reminders for drafts, because I've been guilty of putting in an event in there and then I'm like, oh wait, I need X time or something. And then I just left it. And then I didn't know that it's still there. And then I try to submit it again or something on Marijuana's behalf, basically. So good thing for that. But so if someone wanted to suggest like a missing feature, like you were saying, or perhaps, like a missing feature, then how would they do so on communitydays.org?
Other than calling me, yes. Other than calling me directly, you can go right onto the website and you can click contact us, and in the contact page, there's a link to a feedback form. So that feedback form will get routed into like our tracking system. So we'll also get an email, and then I see everything. So yeah, that's probably the best way, and it's more official that way. Even when people contact me and say, hey, look, I found this issue, I say, just please go in, log it, take like a screenshot, send it in. This way, like the whole team sees it and not just me, right?
Okay. So they're able to upload like an image basically to their contact form?
Well, probably not through the form, but I always contact everybody that submits through there. So I will, engage with them and get some more information, but put as much information in there as possible, because it does help ahead of time.
I think one suggestion would be like maybe in the contact form, you can say like, hey, you wanted like a suggestion. This is like, oh, there's something wrong. And then it could be ordered in that sort of way. So that's you're not just I don't know. Maybe you don't freak out, but like maybe you like, oh, there's something wrong versus, oh, maybe someone just suggests something. But that's the way that I believe Teams does it. And there's also like tracking numbers also with it. So like they know like, oh yeah, we've already seen it, or this is a known issue versus not. So again, thank you so much, Tom. Really appreciate it. You do so much work, and it's unbelievable how much is on here, and this is for a month too. So, but really appreciate it. One more question I have for you is, I know that we're coming up on the end of the year. Before the upcoming year, do you have any sort of feature that you're really excited to bring to Community Days?
Oh yeah. My brain is shot, but so there's a couple things that I wanted to do. I mean, we just did a big giant thing with the session eyes on the speaker board. That was a really big push. I think what I'm looking forward to is, building out like those mini profiles, so that if you click on somebody, you can see what events they organize and what events that they're involved with, and events that they've spoke at. So now that we have all this information, you can really get a good picture of like how involved this person is in the community, right? And it's also for the individual to kind of showcase that. So I think I like that one a lot. There is one that I would like for our attendees, for our users, and that would be to subscribe to a region to get notifications. That's one.
So that they don't have to log in every time and click, Mexico or something every single time.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the one that I would love to build, or being able to subscribe to like an organizer, or like a group, follow like somebody. Yeah.
Right. So if they want to know when Kirona's going to speak next, then they'll know whenever she adds in something else onto the events. That'd be really good. Super interesting. So would you be able, sorry, this is I know that one question, but as another, but for the speakers, would they be able to like descending order of, let's say there's someone that speaks a lot, and then they would be able to see who the top speakers are in terms of engagement or events that they hold?
Yes, actually it's quite controversial, but if you go onto the Community Days right now, there's a menu item called the speaker board. So the speaker board rolls up everything that you speak at in our system. So yes, you can speak at stuff outside of our system. You can speak at major conferences. We're only counting the free ones. Yes. So this only counts the free, like Community Days sessions on up from Session Eyes or from Run Events. So like we're gathering actual data of how long the sessions were and where, in what city, what state, and you can see our top speakers. So these are people, and you would never know that, this person spoke, at these conferences until you have something like this. Like there's no way to ever see this information, right? I'm actually surprised at the people that show up at the very, that are showing up at the top. Actually, I'm not surprised, because they are fantastic. They do a lot in the community, but it's interesting to see how like one week someone else goes ahead and then someone else is popping ahead. Like
Mm-hmm.
sort of a mini competition.
Yeah, it's a competition. That's super cool. I know that was a pretty big push a couple months back, but I feel like we should do a session on this just to, well, maybe we'll wait for the other updates that you put in, and then we'll do a big one where we can showcase the different cool features of communitydays.org.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Tom. Again, I always appreciate your master of mindfulness, and I'll take you off. But again, thank you for coming on and sharing.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All righty. So up next, I'm going to bring on David Levier. He is our prized possession here in MGCI because he is one of our regional leads that runs the training work stream. I believe, David, are you the main host for the Community Days in Mexico that just happened?
Yeah, I mean, I have a organizing committee, yes, but we just finished Los Angeles and Mexico City, and we're doing Costa Rica in February. And then, of course, there's all the ones in 2025 we have planned for San Diego and elsewhere.
I thought it was really cool that you held it on Halloween. I was like, ooh, it's like it's not Cinco de Mayo, but it's like reminds me of that movie Coco. Anyways, but awesome. Thank you for hosting those. I heard LA went really well. Heather and my colleague Brian was there too. So yeah, I know that you also talk about like your lessons learned. In order to get in on those, we have our training sessions at the end of the month. And in order to get on those, you need to join MGCI at aka.ms/MGCI. All right. So without further ado, thank you, David, for please come on and tell us about, what you do outside of MGCI, and then also what the updates you are for that you're going to bring today.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. Yes, a regional lead of USA and Mexico, along with several others for MGCI, also the president of Crush Networks. And thank you so much, Tom Daly, for all your efforts with communitydays.org. We all miss SPS events site, and we're so thankful for the development. And you can go to communitydays.org and learn how to volunteer your time to help out with the development or testing. So check out communitydays.org if you're not there already. Some training committee updates. What we have coming out in 20 days, I believe. We are meeting again. We're going to have Wes and myself, my other training committee member, and Wes Preston and I are going to be recapping both our Los Angeles events as well as the Minnesota event, and be talking about lessons learned from those and have some office hours open discussion. Please join us, sign in and join MGCI if you're not already a member, and come and be prepared to ask questions. We want to answer any questions that you have about what it takes to run a Community Days event. Wes has done many events there in Minnesota, and I've been involved with more than a few myself. So join us then, and then in December, we'll take some time off to enjoy the holidays and to give ourselves a little break, rest and relaxation with the family and friends. And that's the training work stream updates. Back to you, Tiffany. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate it. I know that there was slight discussion on why the date changed from the last week to the third week. And I know that the third week is kind of Ignite. And so it was kind of like lesser of two evils, either Ignite or Thanksgiving. But can you want to share with us on the thought process behind that?
Oh, we all went back and forth about that. We felt that there would be much less people who would be available to join during the actual Thanksgiving Day. And even though some of us were willing to do it, it would probably be not a good idea to do it on that day. And, better that we're helping out in the kitchen and setting the table and stuff. So we just brought it a little earlier to get as many people in as we could. So thank you for asking. We'll see you all on the 22nd.
Yeah, for sure. So make sure you join us on the November 22nd. And the way you get in is by joining through MGCI. Of course, you can also watch past sessions through our recordings folder. We also have that. So you can also watch past trainings as well. All right. Well, thank you so much, David. I'm going to bring on our main guest today. So our main guest today is Habib. He is a co-organizer of Community Days Ottawa, and that was held in Canada. It was a really great event. It was sold out, over 230 participants. Hopefully you can correct me if I'm wrong, Habib, but again, very, very well-run event. It's already their third year running this event, and every year it just gets better and better, and they have certain tidbits and technologies. I'm not going to spoil it, but really exciting, and I think it's really valuable for everyone in the community that wants to hold an event or interested to learn from Habib today. All right, Habib, introduce yourself, and we'll go from there.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, my name is Habib Monkal. I'm a Microsoft 365 MVP from Ottawa, Canada. I'm a principal consultant at Wave Core IT. We do modern workplace deployments and work in solution architecture. So, when it, I guess, from a community perspective, Mike touched on it this morning. We've been, he's been doing it for 12 years. I joined the committee in 2019. So this year we held our event on October 4th. As Tiffany mentioned, it was a sold out event, which we'll quickly chat about. So we've been holding this event. Initially, I think Mike mentioned it was an SPS event back in the day, and then we rebranded to Microsoft 365 Ottawa, and then obviously when the Community Days and Community Initiative came out, we became part of that as well. And so this is the 12th event that we have, and we definitely try and have a like a first class event. Try and get really, really good speakers from anywhere around the world that wish to apply. So there's a couple of ways that we try and get speakers to come in, and I'll touch briefly about that. So we like I said, we try and go through, make sure we have really good speakers, put on a good event for our attendees, and also ensure that we have the appropriate experience for our sponsors, because without them, and I'm sure everybody else knows, without these sponsors, these events cannot really happen. So we really try and make sure that we give them a good event. So this year we actually dropped it down from last year. Last year we had 7 tracks and 7 rooms. This year we brought it down to 6 rooms, 6 tracks, only because of room availability that we had this year. We had 30 sessions with 32 speakers. So there were some sessions where there were co-speakers, and 21 of those were either Microsoft folks that were doing a presentation, or Microsoft MVPs, or speakers that are first-time speakers. So we definitely try and promote local speakers. Sometimes if it's your first event, we'll obviously check your session, validate everything is good, and we'll bring you in. And in some of the cases it's their first time, so I've taken some people and kind of coached them along, reviewed the presentation for them like they asked me to, just to try and give them sort of that warm and fuzzy, that they have everything that they need from like a material and how they're speaking and stuff like that. So so that's sort of what we had from a session perspective. So this was just a quick photo that we took. It's not really all of the speakers. I think it has some of the sponsors as well, but it takes a bit of a village to put these events on. Obviously, like we said before, we had 32 speakers, and then we had a bunch of sponsors as well that I'll talk about. So it takes a lot of people to put these events on. So we're really happy with how the event turned out this year. So as Tiffany mentioned, we've been sold out for the third time this year, third time in a row, or third year in a row, I should say. We had a total registrations of 340 speakers, with an attendance of 70% of general admission. So we had roughly around like 40, I think 40, 45 people, which were, sponsors, speakers, and volunteers. Which is up from 60% total general admission last year. So quite surprising on the the progression of how many people were joining us for the event this year. We had a total of 9 sponsors, so 2 platinum, 3 gold, 3 silver, and 1 track. The track is actually new for this year. Try and promote, companies want to try and promote their businesses, but they really don't have any time or purpose or time or be able to put people at the event to be able to run their sponsor table. So we can put up like a just a pop-up slide or a pop-up sign, within the track room that has the sign. So it's an additional way to us for generate sponsor revenue, and also have an organization promote themselves at the same time with little effort from their perspective. So from a committee perspective, we have 5 people for our MVPs, and we had 6 volunteers during the event. We had an extra volunteer this year, which is huge. For the amount of people that were there, obviously with 11 of us to be able to handle all the questions, where is that room? How do I get here? What's the schedule? Where can I find the schedule? It's definitely a lot easier when you have more hands. So it's, more hands make less work. So definitely a great to have that many volunteers. And so from a platform perspective, we obviously use Community Days to promote the event for the MGCI. Just on the community events to post to say, hey, this is where our event is, and call for speakers, etc. And then we changed this year from using Sessionize to and Eventbrite, which were 2 mutually exclusive platforms, one for the event's speaker submission, and the other one is to purchase tickets and manage those, which was definitely challenging in previous years. So we thought, let's use Run.Events as a single platform for both attendees and speakers to be able to manage all of the different sessions that were, submitted, and then, so as pre-event information, run pop-up notes and messages onto the mobile phones or on the website or email while the event is happening. That was a really great feature that we had. And then we also use MailChimp as well, because we've been keeping track of all of the list of attendees and all of the list of speakers, in order to try and promote both the call for speakers and also the attendees to join, right? So we've been using that in order to sort of promote the event. And we really didn't do much from a marketing perspective because our mailing list has been getting quite significant. And so I think just a few of us went on just to say, hey, we're almost sold out, so make sure you get your the remaining tickets from that perspective. So that was quite good. We generally just used X or LinkedIn for those type of promotions. So how do we figure out sort of the room sizes? So we use the Microsoft Office in Ottawa, and they have different they have 2 multi-purpose rooms, or MPRs, and a bunch of different meeting rooms of different sizes. And so the MPRs can hold, I think, 50 or 50 plus per room. And some of the other rooms, I think, were like 18, 14 kind of thing. So in order for us to understand, which sessions or which tracks should go into the larger rooms, during our, registration process, we asked the attendees to, obviously fill out the form to say like, hey, what are you most interested in that perspective, or top 3. And then generally when they give us that, then we'll essentially put the tracks in those particular rooms. So that's one good thing that we actually learned from previous years. We kind of just did a guesstimate before, when now we're trying to use a little bit more on the analytics side of things to be able to help us decide where to place people. And it gives obviously the speakers a really good experience. It was interesting. So a lot of the rooms had standing room or sitting room only, so they were really overloaded this year. So which was really good. Some of our other feedback that we've been getting too is, we need a room with bigger, or a facility with bigger spaces. So those are some things that go into considerations when sort of you're taking your feedback in. So what have we been doing from a success criteria perspective, right? We've been repeating the same success sort of year over year. So as we mentioned, we keep retaining the mailing list for all of our speakers and our attendees, so that we have the ability to market to them directly and not just specifically on social media. We also take attendee feedback, very seriously, in looking in some of the considerations that they'd like us to do. Obviously, same thing from a speaker and sponsor perspective, right? We try and implement things wherever we can. And I'll talk about some of the feedback. Well, one of the feedbacks from a sponsor perspective last year was that I think they had difficulty speaking and getting information from the attendees that they were speaking to, sort of at the same time, and that's where we invested in some additional technology, which I'll mention in a second. So after that, after the event, we, as a team, we get together the following week on our weekly call to sort of talk about the lessons learned, make notes, and everything like that for the future year coming, and how do we potentially correct the mistakes as well. And then, like I said before, we'll invest. If we have the budget, or if you have the budget, try and invest in new technologies and ideas, and try and improve the experience for everybody that's involved. So, one thing that we also do too is we try and stick with the same type of catering from a food and beverage perspective, because there has been some years that we tried different catering companies that didn't go, or they weren't really a great experience. So we've been using the same person or the same company from that perspective. So start early. So from a message perspective, what do? We usually start about 6 months early before our event. So, it definitely takes a bit of time to plan. From our perspective, establishing a strong committee is very good as well. Making sure, from our side, everybody generally has their own kind of thing that they do. So our meetings now are generally, every couple of weeks. I think up until the couple of weeks before. So we have like bi-weekly meetings, but generally our team sort of, people understand sort of what their roles are, and we sort of run with that from the beginning and until the event starts, and then everybody sort of comes together and does, everything at the event itself. So having a strong committee is there. I'm fortunate enough to have joined a committee that's been there for a significant amount of time with a lot of experience holding events and speaking. So it's really good. So if this is your first time running an event, definitely reach out to other people that have, created events and have ran events before to obviously maybe be a sounding board and provide some guidance to you in order for you to have a successful event yourself. So the first thing that you want to do is secure your venue. So if you're using a Microsoft location, their schedule and rooms tend to fill up very quickly. Given that we've moved our session that used to be on Saturdays, which was part of SPS Saturday, we moved it to Fridays. In which we saw obviously a significant uptake in attendance by moving it to that. So making sure that you're securing the event on the day that you want well in advance, because you need to have that obviously ready to go so that you can go to the next step, which basically reach out to your network of speakers, tell them that you have a an event that you want to have on, and then broadcast it, right? Broadcast your event to try and get as many attendees registered with the event. And then what we usually do is we'll close the call for speakers 3 months before. And then what we'll do is we will select the speakers at least 2 months before, because we do have a lot of speakers that come from outside of Canada. So they, or even within Canada, from, East or Western, but a lot from the US. We did have someone from Europe this year that flew over. So we want to make sure that we give ample time for the speakers to be able to book their travel well in advance. And then, make sure that you try and show value to your sponsors, right? Because like I said, without them, these events would not be able to be put on. So in order to do that, try and get as many attendees in the event as well, because that's sort of who they are looking to speak with. And that's pretty much it. I will be at Ignite next week. And if you are around, please come by and say hi. I'll be at the Microsoft 365 or Copilot for Microsoft 365 booth. And I will also be at ESPC in early December as well. If you're there, please come by and say hello. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Habib. That was a great presentation. I know we had some good questions from earlier this morning, but I actually have one that I thought of, because while you were going through it, you were saying that you'd made the decision recently, or at least for this last event, to move it to Friday, and you saw like a more upshot to an attendance. How did you or the committee make that decision between, whereas previously it was like SharePoint Saturdays or Saturday events, and then now it's on a Friday?
Yeah, so I think it's more around like, hey, it's so from a facility perspective, it's a bit challenging, obviously, to schedule somebody in there, and you have to have additional things in place in order to secure the environment as well. But I think from Ottawa perspective, it's a government town. Primarily. So we thought, hey, maybe it might be better to run the event on a Friday and then see how it goes, right? So, I mean, we're obviously, year after year, we're always trying to do new things or trying to improve things. So we thought, hey, maybe maybe Friday would be, beneficial from an attendance perspective, so that, given at least, with how budgets happen within organizations, maybe a lot of organizations don't have the time, or so not the time, but the funding to send their employees to training somewhere. Whereas, they could say, okay, well, take the day off and then go to this event, and, because it's a local event. So there's not really a need to provide any additional funding to their employees other than, hey, take a day off as a training day as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really great tip, is that you kind of analyze the local area, and you found out that, hey, since there's more government and they're, obviously they work Monday to Friday most of the time, and it'd be easier for them to say, hey, Friday off to, attend this event, rather than having to sacrifice like a weekend holiday or something like that. So that's a really good tip. Basically, look at the local area that you're trying to serve, what kind of like people work in that area. And then I know we have another question from Tom in chat, and he's asking how you keep your community engaged throughout the year.
So we had a user group, actually, where, we used to do like monthly events. It was actually surprising that we didn't quite get enough people going out to the monthly kind of community events. Whereas when we started, where we rebranded as the M365 Ottawa community, over the last 3 years, it's been quite surprising that, we get so many people just on this one day, but the one event is not there. So I think a lot of the folks kind of follow us all over on our social media as well. So we're sort of, engaging them through our social media as well. And I'm not quite sure if Mike does any mailings throughout the year to sort of keep them engaged, but that's a really good question. So the user group is actually, I think, starting back up, I think, in the new year. We're going to try and get the community event going again, given that, we've been having a really good success with this, once a year community event. So we're hopefully trying to get, community to show up within, at least a once a month kind of thing.
Awesome. So one last question. I know we're coming up on our time, but I noticed earlier you were saying that you had 70% participation, and then you were also talking about like catering and keeping catering consistent. But my question is, how do you sort of judge how much catering to order so it's not too much or too little, right? You don't want to waste it, but you don't want to have not enough for everyone.
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's a total crystal ball kind of a thing, right? So you're like, so this year, we kind of went off the numbers for last year to say, okay, we had 60%. I think we had roughly around, I think, the same or a little bit less the year before. So we've been seeing an improvement. We did not anticipate the 70%, and so we banked it on 60%. We also made sure that, as we were planning, we kept additional funding to sort of be agile in the event that we had a greater number of people than we had ordered food for. To quickly order pizza at like 11 o'clock. And we said, we need this many pizzas to come in by this time. And so I guess it's sort of, trying to figure out, kind of we base it off previous years, and then sort of just trying to be agile. So we kept continuous count throughout the morning as people were checking in, and sort of we went that way. So that's kind of what we've been trying to do. So next year maybe we'll kind of go in between, the previous 2 years, and who knows, it may surpass this year, but we're kind of at capacity. This year, at least throughout the day. It wasn't at like max capacity very first thing in the morning, which was challenging in itself because, we were also trying out a new technology to use run.events where we had the scanners, we had printers, etc. So we were trying to keep track and then also try and get, the 100 or so plus people through the door at the same time. So yeah, from a food perspective, it's kind of trying to figure out, we're not sure.
Yeah, but the more the merrier. And I did hear Mike from this morning. He was saying that by using run events and being able to like QR code scan the person, it's much easier to just get people through the door rather than write and, remember. And even for people, right, like coming in and out throughout the day, when they talk to 200 people talk to each other, you're probably not going to remember after like 10 names. So, but it'd be helpful, right, to do that conversation within run the event. So maybe you can catch up with that person after the fact. So again, super, super loads of good information. I'm so happy for Habib. Your event obviously was a great success, and I do hope you have that catering issue again this upcoming year, so you can order more food and more people attend. And then if you are at a space capacity, then maybe we can ask Microsoft for some more space or more conference rooms within that area. All right. Thank you so much, Habib, for coming on. I know we're coming up on time, but wanted to give our greatest appreciation for you coming on and sharing your lessons learned. And yeah, thank you for doing that today.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, let's move on to our upcoming events. So first, make sure if you like today's call, if you want to hear more, similar calls to, these lessons learned, or you want to hear about technology shares such as run the events that Habib was talking about earlier, feel free to give us your feedback on what you thought of today's call, good, bad, ugly, at ak.ms/MGCI feedback. So next, we can look at our upcoming community events. These are November to December. You can also find a full list of these events at communitydays.org. And then if you go on to the next slide, these are our community produce events. This upcoming week, actually, we have our TechCon 365 Dallas, and this is going to be featuring various people from the MVP community, as well as, those in person in Dallas, Our lovely Mark Cashman is going to be keynoting one of the sessions, as well as Josh Leparati. Both of those guys are from my team, and they're excellent speakers and great at dad jokes and all around just full of great information from the Microsoft product team. And then if we talk about the next one, which is Microsoft Ignite, how can we forget? It's about 7 days away. In person is sold out, and we also have a digital experience that is free to register at. You can check this out at ak.ms/ignite, but there's going to be tons of people there, of course. And of course, we're going to have top product announcements held at Microsoft Ignite. And we're going to have Caruana, Jeff Teeper, Adam Harms, and many others from the Microsoft product teams to talk about the newest innovation in AI transformation, as you see here. So make sure if you're in the area, if you're going to be attending, you can join us at the Microsoft community here where we will be sharing some pictures throughout the event. All right. So what's next? Want to remind you all, there's going to be no call in December. Happy holidays. Hopefully you'll be able to take a well-rested break. And if you celebrate these holidays during that month, then feel free to have a good time with your family. Quick reminder, share your feedback at that link I shared right here. Invite your colleagues to join us at MGCI. And of course, interact with people from this call as well as others at the Microsoft Tech community. Really appreciate it. Alrighty, I think that's it. And we are right on time. We have some additional links right here if you wanted to see, but thank you all for joining here today. I really appreciate it. We can bring everybody back on. We did some hearts earlier, so I thought we can do some jazz hands for PM call. So if you can, we can do some jazz hands and then we can share it out later. All right, thank you so much all. Thank you, Habib, Tom, David, you all did an excellent job and we are so lucky to have you. All right.